question. Good choice. Good choice. He was looking.
How is your brand helping companies unlock the power of data, and how does your technology enable organizations become data-driven?
Use the mic. Hi, I'm Daniel. So in Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, firstly we believe that the enterprise of the future, right, is three dimensions. One, it needs to be edge-centric. That's really close to the edge. And secondly, it has to be cloud-enabled, and lastly, data-driven. So on the data-driven side, I think data today is really important because IDC predicts that 40 zettabytes of data will be created by this year. And I think firstly we'll start on how do you even store the data and the life cycle of the data as you move it around. I think Hewlett-Packard Enterprise will start from the very basic on how to store it and the life cycle around it. And we have a platform that we call the Intelligent Data Platform. They can really move data seamlessly from the edge into what we call the core, which is the data center, into the cloud. And what's also very important around data is how do you make use of this data and drive intelligence around the data to help you make business decisions. Recently, we have made some major acquisitions around this area. I think as announced, MapR, Cray Systems, which really are in the supercomputing, and also Blue Data, about a year ago. So all these acquisitions that we have are really looking at assets into the future. How do we drive more intelligence out of data? Okay. So I think don't take too much time.
Thank you, Sir Daniel. I think that's very true. Even before we start harnessing the power of data, we have to have that storage platform, right? Okay. Sir, Jimmy, please, if you could please share with us why VSTEC is doing this.
Well, first, thank you for everyone for joining us in this CXO event. This is our second year, okay. Thank you to all our partners, and of course, thank you to our press partners also. So this is our second year, and I believe that some of you were also here last year, and we're doing this to be able to create demand for the different solutions that we have, and especially since one of our advantages now is that we have the different kinds of solutions, and they do compete, or they also complement a lot with each other. Okay, so this is also our, shall we say, our contribution to the IT community, to the CXO community, to help them make good decisions on what are the brands or solutions. Yeah. So again, thank you very much for coming. Okay. So
please answer my first two questions.
Okay.
That is, how is your brand helping companies unlock the power of data? And how does your technology enable organizations become?
Thank you for that. So Aruba is actually a Hewlett-Packard Enterprise company, and Daniel touched on the edge centrality, right, of the enterprise of the future. And for us, Aruba has been synonymous with intelligent networks. And for us, the currency or the outcome or the metric that drives the digital transformation, right, for an enterprise of the future is all about experience. And this is where when the physical meets the digital meets the physical, which is at the edge, where experience matters the most. And typically, when networks were, maybe 5-10 years ago, it was just a medium of transport, right? Moving bits from A to B. But increasingly, networks are becoming more intelligent, and the ability to draw context from it is highly critical to ensure the right experiences for the stakeholders, whether it's the IT operations, whether it's customers, whether it's the line of business, whether it's for the securitization of the network. The network presents itself as a very important layer. Data-driven capabilities within the network could help provide information that indicates behavioral intent that leads to an ability to protect and policy better. Information from data from the networks as well could also be used, like location-based information, to help the lines of business like marketing, like retail stores, like hotels, like hospitals, to be able to to really inform the stakeholders and therefore create experiences that matter to customers. And finally, of course, networks data from networks could be help to also assure the performances, so that you could ensure the lifeblood, which is the fabric of the enterprise, will be the networks, to be running in the right smooth fashion as well. Right? So I think that gives you a sense of it. So Aruba is synonymous with that kind of experience age.
All right, thank you. Miss Kari, your thoughts, please.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon, magandang hapon. Well, first of all, before I answer that, I'd just like to congratulate and thank VSTECS for this wonderful event. I think this is, I've been in the industry here in the Philippines for quite some time now, and we're very grateful as an industry and as a group of partners of VST for bringing us all together, and really, as you said, bringing a valuable contribution to our customers here in this market. Well, very briefly, I just want to say that Cisco is helping enterprises or businesses unleash the power of data by many of the enterprises in the world today use our enterprise network. So we've got that visibility. Second, with the capability that we've got today on intelligent networks, intent-based networking, we're able to bring in insights for our customers to make the right business decisions, and lastly, obviously, to take action. So just very briefly, it's really around, one, we've got the visibility founded on any innovation that comes out of our portfolio that is very secure, at zero trust, which one of the key messages that we're delivering in this conference over the next 2 days. And lastly, to make intent-based actions.
Thank you. Sir Tony, please, your thoughts.
Hello, the Schneider Electric is one of the leading company to develop and then design the data center infrastructure. We are, from this year to next year and the following years, we are focusing on edge computing with lots of platforms. Data center business actually in the end for like a Philippines, like 7,000 islands here, we need to connect to the local edge points. Like micro data center kind of mini data center platform is critical to actually to communicate with the data center to avoid latency and those issues. And then another one is we talk about data. Actually, how we're going to use the data is very important, right? So we have an infrastructure platform that we gather all the data from not only IT points, also OT points, which is IoT. Then how we're going to control and how we're going to analyze it and how we're going to make it meaningful data, report coming out from AI. This is our infrastructure platform that Schneider Electric really pursue. But this is the way, how can you use the data, how to manage data is the key for the future IT.
All right, thank you. Sir Christopher.
Sure. Thank you. So, good afternoon. My name's Chris, I'm from Oracle. Oracle has been sort of synonymous with data management. It's sort of in our DNA and pedigree for the last 42 years or so. And we see that just continuing into the current age. Right? So if you look at most traditional transaction systems, reservation systems, banking systems, core systems, they're sort of underpinned, have been underpinned by the Oracle database. As we evolved, and my colleagues here talked about the experience economy, we talked about zettabytes worth of data. That access to data is being democratized and is driving a whole bunch of different sets of services that are customer and customer experience related. So we see this cloud as a huge opportunity to give customers, not just large customers, access to sort of the data management portfolio that we have, but to give any customer access at the end of a browser to go on and turn on some of the data management solutions that we have, and it's accessible effectively on a pay-as-you-go view across the cloud. Right? So we see our ability to deliver these sorts of services as a great enabler for customers, large and small, to get into the data-driven economy, to start building a new set of services that are experience-related. I'll leave it at that for now.
Sir Malcolm from IBM.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Malcolm Rowe. I'm from IBM. So I'm here today to bring together the data conversation with regards to security. And you can't have a data conversation that will begin with things like where do you put it, how do you manage it, how do you distribute it, how do you integrate the cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud environments, how do we manipulate, exfiltrate, and so forth. You can't have that conversation unless you talk about security. And today, data has become the crown jewel of the cyber criminals' target for exfiltration and manipulation. It used to be people, simplified malware attacks that were doing ransom things. In addition to those cyber criminals that were deliberately targeting organizations either for what they thought was their good or state-sponsored for deliberate aims objectives for a state organization. Parking that aside, the new and the very real intention, it's not new, the real intention now is to get your data. And the data security, and there are many companies here today, and this is a wonderful event by VST, and we're very grateful for being here. Again, thank you. But the securing the data conversation is critical. There are many choices you can have, and most enterprises have multiple vendors. The key to managing your data going forward is how do we have an integrated, cohesive cybersecurity posture that utilizes the current and latest generation of technologies to bring together control, orchestration, automation, and response. And the response needs to be rehearsed and practiced and ready to go into action, because it's not if, it is when you are breached. Are you ready? So I'll be talking tomorrow about this in more detail, but it's a very important part of the data story. And when I first saw the title for the summit, I was intrigued. You know, the data-driven enterprise, absolutely. The second line, harnessing the power of data. Harnessing the power of data. Who? You or the cyber criminal? It is so valuable that you have to have a cohesive security strategy. So I hope that helps.
Thank you. Security is one of the critical concerns that we have to take into consideration. Sir David, your thoughts please on my question earlier. How is your organization helping companies unlock the power of data, and how does your technology enable organizations become data-driven?
So, you know, first of all, Jimmy, thank you for inviting Samsung first time this year. I've been a long time Cisco employee. I think I was a 5,000 employee, first 5,000 employee at Cisco at headquarters. Been doing network business for a long time. Data center, I was part of the acquisition. Now it's about 150,000 employee base last time I checked when Chamber retired. I joined Samsung 2017 for one reason, and one reason only. Mobile business is growing. We expect it's going to be a $1 trillion business in enterprise business and mobile solution. Why I'm saying this is because how do you gather data to start with? You don't gather data out of nowhere. Someone has to start input those data, start processing. Everything starts from the beginning. I believe mobile and the mobile evolution is creating a whole new business. Imagine your parents will never use a mobile phone, feature phone. Or think about people that never use digital transformation by using papers to process. All of a sudden now they're going to use they're going to use a tablet, Wi-Fi tablets or LTE tablets or mobile phone. It is the gathering of the data at the beginning is a critical aspect. The back end is important, but not as, in my humble opinion, it's not as critical of security at the beginning and how you enter. So I believe that from Samsung perspective, because I cover Asia, I see a lot of transformation, tons of transformation. Hospitals, insurance, banking that never used digital transformation, converting into devices and conversion of 5G, moving into that direction. So for us, Samsung, we're the only company organically grow components to hardware to software. We don't outsource, we organically put that together. We have an engineering team, we have a network team, we have a hardware, software, we got everything. We don't outsource. Why? For only one reason. We believe in security. Security is a paramount to our business. That's why we don't outsource. It's easy to outsource, but it's also very easy to create vulnerability. So from our scope, we are a firm believer of that. And as a result, later on you'll hear tomorrow, the NOx, software solution. So when actually you get compromised at software level, we actually have a hardware inside that when it gets compromised, the fuse goes off and unlocks the phone. Imagine that. Think about how many of you actually walk out of your home. Today, with this phone, I have everything. I don't even carry my wallet when I go out for a walk. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. And it's because this is what creates the entry to all the data, payment transaction, MPOS, entering all the contact information that you have. That's the power of data. And in Samsung, we not only create a door to enter the data, we create an environment where you can be secure of all the data information. Of course, the partners here create the security in a network, a much bigger ecosystem. We need that. But from a Samsung perspective, we are very firm on not only creating a hardware and software, but also security that will allow you to create that freedom. And we have a solution that allows you to separate workspace to your private. So you can do that all at once in your phone. So that's what I believe about privacy and data gathering for Samsung.
Right, thank you. I actually have a follow-up question. I don't know if this is just my personal perception, but Samsung is quite known in the consumer market. Do you have specific solutions for B2B? Please.
Yeah, so good question. That's what I thought when I first interviewed. We started dabbling into a B2B market because Samsung was looking at, we're about $100 billion business, mobile business, $100 billion annually. And we felt that the growth in mobile business is limited when you only focus on one vertical. We start investing, just like any big company, you start investing in new business, and that got me all excited. So when I interviewed with the president of mobile business, it was an opportunity. There's an emerging market that we haven't tapped into. I think many of the folks here understand there's so much in Asia that I think we can grow. Now with 5G, even more so. And so, yes, we do have an enterprise business, and it's for real. And we started, I joined 2017. We started to put the group together around mid-2015 or so. We have a full R&D. We have a B2B specific product, which we'll talk about it tomorrow when I present. I don't want this to be a early part of the presentation, but teaser, hopefully. And then we do have solutions that goes with for enterprise.
All right, thank you. Sir Patrick from Huawei, your brand has been in the news lately. Your thoughts, please, on my question earlier. How is Huawei helping companies unlock the power of data? And how does your technology enable organizations become data-driven?
All right. So thank you for the question. I think I was just probably start off with the point that we believe in that the data is the new oil, right? But I personally, or the way how we look at it is that not all data are equal, right? So nowadays we are talking about generating a lot of data. We do have zettabyte of data out there in place already, but who can really sift through all this and really make sense of it? It is too big. Right. So therefore, I think in Huawei, the way we are going to look at it is basically from a few perspectives. One perspective is how do you kind of like sift out what is important to you, and then leave those that is not important to you. I think that is a very good and a very important step that we have to take to clean up, to be having something that is manageable. So for that perspective itself, we are looking at database technology where I can kind of like have a container for everything, right? And then another container for things that is more important that we probably will put it in a structured way so that we can retrieve it very quickly to support the AI's requirement for that, right? Because AI, like autonomous driving, will require data very quick, right? So we want to make sure that we can extract data very quickly. Number two is moving data around, right? So we talk about the volume of data, right? And data now is created not only from people, right? We are going into a space where things are going to create a lot of data. I think IoT. Think about when 5G comes in, right? The amount of data is going to be so huge. How do we move data, quickly from the storage to the server? Right, so these are areas that we are exploring, building technology, creating efficiency around it, So for moving data from storage to like the compute layer, we have bringing in good technology like RDMA over Converged Internet into our product offering, and looking at other technology that can really help that. Alright, so all this coming in place. Alright, we also need a good and fast storage system. So we are actually looking at making an all-flash array the main key component of all data center. And beyond that, we are looking at how to really put data into good use rather than storing everything to the point that we are unable to process it. Does it help?
Thank you. Sir Carolis, your thoughts, please.
Thank you very much.
Carolis is from Dell Technologies.
Dell Technologies, yeah. So I think I would just like to pause for a second, just listening to all of you and just earlier presentations today. If you think about an event like this 10 years ago, right, that would be talking about bits and bytes and blinking lights. Servers, connectivity, speeds and feeds. We're talking about data, we're really talking about the outcomes for the client. We no longer concentrate on underlying technologies that much. We go, okay, how that technology will empower my client to achieve the business goals he's trying to achieve. And I guess from Dell Technologies' point of view, a lot of companies went for a turnaround, and merger with EMC and everything else just brought so many different views about how technology can be used. So tomorrow we have a presentation in the morning. Again, it's just I guess a little teaser, but the whole strategy is around cloud. And we all heard that word so many times. It's boring. It's like so overused. If you speak to Amazon, they thought everything will go to public cloud by 2020. Everything. That's practically impossible, right? So the future and reality really is around hybrid cloud. The question is, how do you extend that hybrid cloud to those who mentioned edge locations, right? And that edge can be anything. It can be a manufacturing plant. It can be a remote office. It can be an autonomous car. And that autonomous car needs to make that decision in milliseconds, right there. Should I accelerate, should I turn left or right? And then being able to go back to the base and sync up to the big brother, the big data somewhere there. So Dell Technologies really focus on providing that unanimous single pane of glass across edge, data center, and public cloud environments. And how we say, just let the workload be your guide. Let the workload follow the landing spot where it really belongs. And the last bit, I just want to echo comments I heard about the region before. So I'm blessed and very lucky to be able to work in Southeast Asia. I guess the increased focus from Dell Technologies right now around this area is predominantly based on the fact that if you look at the map of the world, just at the globe, there's not that many areas in the world where we're seeing such an intense explosion. We're leapfrogging in some countries. It's like, because it's not even evolution, it's actually beyond that. And from a business point of view, that's solid, of course, but if you think how technology at this specific point in time can enable those customers here to achieve their business outcomes, I think that's really blows my mind. So we try to focus on that.
Okay, so speaking of explosion, there's obviously data explosion now. I read an article, this has become a problem. Okay, how important is data mining? Yes.
Well, clearly data is in the oil, right? So if you don't mine oil, you won't have anything to make any outcomes. Clearly, most of the decisions now are completely data-driven. And yesterday I heard it's just even in such subject to things like sales forecasting and opportunities and Salesforce, most of the companies are moving away from sales reps trying to tell them what they think the deal is going to close at or what's the value, and run completely unbiased algorithms behind that. And machine learning again and again and again, it becomes more and more relevant. So yes, absolutely, that's a key to everything we do. And I guess if anyone wants to remain relevant in this business in IT or in pretty much anything, you have to have data in the heart of your strategy. Thank you.
Any panelists would like to answer that question?
I'll take an addition to that. So I love how you said, we've said a couple of times data is the new oil. Unlike oil though, the more you use data, it actually generates more. Whereas if you use oil, it actually shrinks. So it's actually just that explosion itself fuels itself. We're doing a couple of things to address that. Number one is, our colleagues talked about reducing, bringing the edge of the data center to be one. So effectively breaking that boundary down. Whether you run it on cloud, or in your data center, treat that exactly as one. And then we talked about how do you make sense out of all of this? Right? And there's two things. I think the prevalence of machine learning and AI can help us both what I call below the line and above the line. So below the line, as you bring this data, whether it's at the edge or data center or in the cloud, together, using machine learning and AI to protect that data, just patterns of access, patterns of use, and how you can, milliseconds to cut off access to that data if it just looks like the wrong person is accessing the data or manipulating the data. That's the south of the line analogy I'd use. North of the line is when you got all of that data there, how do you make sense out of that really, really quickly? I love your example of sales forecasting, and again, I'll do a plug as well for the session tomorrow. I'll sort of share with you exactly that scenario of how we internally basically look at what we see and we project our sales forecasting based on machine learning algorithms, just completely unbiased, and just by moving data on spreadsheets onto the cloud and machines doing that analysis for us. So yeah.
Okay, to the question around data mining, okay, when you talk about data mining today, it's really around data analytics. But we are moving into the age of machine learning. And the question is, do we really have the data that we want? And have we collected the data that we want to solve the problems in the future? So in Hewlett Packard Enterprise, we are working with DZNE, the German Center of Neurodegenerative Disease in the city of Bonn. They want to solve all of Alzheimer's disease. So what they have done is today, working together with them, they've asked for volunteers, 30,000 volunteers, over the next period of 20 years, every alternate year, to take an MRI scan of their brain, so that they start collecting data, so that into the future, when Alzheimer's hit any of this patient, then they can use machine learning to trace back to find the cure and what actually started it. So when you start looking at data mining and data in the future, don't look at what you have today. What do you need to collect the data about your customers, about your environment, about your edge, and start collecting those, have strategies to collect those data, because you'll be able to mine those data and using machines to find out answers that you do not have today.
Thank you. With that, I'm now going to open the floor to our reporters. Guys, you have questions to RG from Philippine Star.
Hi, Sir Jimmy. RG from the Philippine Star. Again, congratulations on a very successful turnout today. My question would be, how many brands and partners are with us right now, and how's the turnout in terms of attendees?
Well, I don't have the exact number of partners, but shall we say that we have the key partners here, okay, the important ones, okay, and we have over 200, I think about 200 CXO here. So all of them are key partners, so that's why they're all here. Yeah.
Any other question? Yeah.
I'm John Dodson, visual editor of Daily Tribune. I'm very positive that actually I'm so excited to hear tomorrow's keynote speeches, because I know that most of our questions will be answered tomorrow. And so I don't want to share.
He doesn't want to preempt.
My questions is for Ms. Carrie. Insofar as we have a Data Privacy Act in the Philippines, and I'm sure you're very familiar with the aspects.
I'm not an expert, but I'm familiar.
That might, insofar, pose obstacles to operations of most companies here. So how do you see this law affecting these companies insofar as the Philippine setting is concerned?
Yeah, because that's like flavor of the month for us here in the Philippines for the last 2-3 years after they've released the IRR, right? So the privacy law has been there for a while, but the actual release of implementing those regulations only came about 36 months ago, if I remember correctly. I think what I know, like I said, I'm not an expert, but what I know about, because prior to joining Cisco. I've been here in the industry for quite a while. The industry has been a big part in putting that together. So I'm sure all of you are aware of that. So we've had a lot of inputs to it. And what I know is that it is not something that was completely, it's not going to work if it's purely formulated by our policymakers here in the country. It is all patterned after existing data privacy laws of the more, maybe if I may say, more mature countries who has gone ahead of us in implementing such a law. So us being global companies have, is quite familiar, and at the same time have been innovating our solutions around governance or policies that is not very specific or unique to the Philippines.
Which country would that be?
Like I said, I am not an expert to this, but there are. Sorry.
Yeah, only when you're finished.
It's Like I said, I'm not an expert, but it's not necessarily a specific country. Also, there are international organizations that look after that. So, it skips my.
Well, if I just add to
European.
that, I think it's a good question and a good answer, but I just want to add to that. So, I think Philippines have shown great leadership. So, the data privacy here came way before, I think, almost every other ASEAN country, with the exception of Malaysia. So it was second in ASEAN. And it came before the European Union's GDPR Act that came out about a year and a bit ago. So we're way ahead here in the Philippines, which kind of underscores the comment made by the previous speaker about this growth in this part of the world. I think he used the word blockage by mistake. It doesn't block companies. It's here to protect the individual consumer. It's also here to ensure that companies adhere to governance, compliance, and risk management, which has got to be good again. That means that we have a framework for business here, driven by government data rules that ensure that other companies will come here knowing it's a safe environment to do work. The banks are regulated, that we as consumers are safe. So a simple illustration is, this comes all the way back to cybersecurity. When I fill out a form for an insurance application, that data isn't going to be given or sold to somebody else to then ring me up and try and sell me a hot dog. Or worse still, isn't being kept somewhere and the data is stolen because it's kept forever, back to the data explosion debate. And someone then hacked into that computer, took that data and then sold it on the black market. So there's time limits for how long they can keep the data, they have to have permission to get out there. So it's good for industry and business, particularly the financial community and government. And it's great for attracting more business because it's a great place to do work, Philippines. And finally, it's great for us as consumers because we are protected. And our data is our data. How dare somebody take it and just give it away like they used to? So I think it's a good thing for the Philippines.
Governance tends to be a catalyst, right, for things moving fast.
Not always.
Well, but governance in this sense, where there's confidence your data isn't going to be manipulated or stolen or used without maliciously. There's confidence for you to participate in that.
For as long as we observe the ethical and legal processes, I think, we're safe. Like any other questions from Nadine?